Hey everyone, and welcome to the Skulduggery Pleasant book tag. So a few months ago, during one of our live streams for the Dead Famous Read Along, we came up with the Skulduggery Pleasant book tag, and it's about time I finally did it, considering half of my co-hosts have already done it. So, considering I am such a Skulduggery fan, I have been slacking, but it is time to change that. So let's get into the questions and into this tag. Question number 1 is Valkyrie Kane, which is a book featuring an anti-heroine or an unlikable female protagonist. I'm going to say the Paper Girls for this because they are very much anti-heroines of this series, because I've described this series as a little bit Stranger Things in the sense that it's originally set in the 80s and we're following a bunch of teenagers who happen to be female in this instead of mostly male, as they are basically being thrust through time and trying to figure out what the hell is going on in various different ways. It's very confusing in a lot of places, but it's very, very good, and I am quite frankly really into it. And I've only got like 2 volumes left that I'm waiting for the library to get hold of so I can finally read them, but I really love it, quite frankly. And these characters are very much like anti-heroines, and in some cases kind of unlikable as well. Like, there's a couple who are really likeable, but there's one in general who really isn't, because quite frankly she is spouting a lot of 80s typical homophobia, unfortunately, and things like this. And she's also like just a very angry character and things like this. But at the same time, all of them are very much anti-heroines, because none of them have trained for this, none of them know what they're doing, and none of them really know what's going on, so they're just kind of winging it, essentially. And I just really enjoy this series, quite frankly. They're some of my favourite heroines to watch. Question number 2 is Skulduggery Pleasant, which is your favourite mystery/thriller. Now, I don't read mysteries or thrillers. I don't do it, and if this wasn't the Skulduggery Pleasant tag, I'd be actually using Skulduggery for this question, because it's the closest thing I get to mystery thrillers, because usually they are trying to solve some sort of murder or a disappearance or something along those lines, but because this is the Skulduggery tag, I'm not going to use that. Instead, I'm going to use the only other thing I could use, which is the BBC Sherlock manga, because I'm a big fan of BBC Sherlock. It's one of my all-time favourite TV shows. I think it may be my all-time favourite TV show. I have loved it for the last decade. I watch it like every single time a new series comes out. Literally, I will drop everything to watch it, and I become obsessed with it. It is one of my obsessions, actually. It's one of my favourite things. I admittedly haven't watched it in a while, but I live and breathe BBC Sherlock quite often when I'm not living and breathing McFly or the Avengers and Marvel in general. But I do love the mangas, to get back to the point, because these mangas are literally the TV show adapted into manga form. So it's literally word for word the series, shot for shot drawn of the series, essentially, in manga format. And I love that, because I'm a nerd, but also because it means I can just pick up the series whenever I want, or at least series 1, because this is only series 1. I'm waiting for Scandal and Belgravia Part 2 to come out and see if it comes out as a bind-up so I can get it in one book, essentially. But I just love this because I know what's going on, because one of my problems with mystery thrillers is that I generally sit there going, wait, who's that, where did that clue come from, and I just forget all of it, quite frankly, and I find it really hard to follow along. But because I know the TV series so well, because I've watched it so many times, I can follow along with these really, really easily. And also, quite frankly, I just hear their voices as I am reading it, no matter how long it's been since I've actually watched that specific episode. So that's why they are my favourite. And also, I really want Benedict to play Skulduggery. He's the voice I have in my head, and like the mannerisms and everything else, that's my Skulduggery in my head. So yeah, that is going to be my mystery thriller book recommendation, because I've got nothing else, because I don't do mystery thriller. Question number 3 is China Sorrows, a beautiful yet intimidating read. I'm going to say the Becky Chambers Wayfarer series, because I found this very, very intimidating going in, because I knew just how beloved this series was, and I was very scared I wasn't going to like it, because I knew it was very, very character driven instead of being more story driven. But these books are absolutely beautiful. I've only read 2 of them so far, but I love them so much. I love this exploration of like humanity and morals and like everything else to do with this series. I've only read 2, like I've said. I'm waiting on the other 3 hopefully for Christmas, and I just love them so much. They are beautiful, the covers are beautiful as well, and if you're intimidated, just go into it because it's amazing. Question number 4 is Tanith Low, which is a book with great fight scenes, and I'm going to say Matt Fraction's Hawkeye here, and I'm going to specifically say the car chase scene in one of the first volumes. I can't remember which one it is because I read all 6 in one great big go, and therefore just kind of merged them all into one great big volume in my head, quite frankly. But this one is obviously all about Hawkeye and like his life and him being like a down-to-earth superhero when he's not with the rest of the Avengers, things like this. And in this one I've got to mention the car chase of the fight scene, because the car chase, he's literally hanging out of this car window firing trick arrows at the bad guys while Kate is driving, and it is amazing, quite frankly. This series is not my favourite, but that car chase was truly incredible, and I just really, really loved it. And if you have seen the TV show as well, it's the car chase in episode 3 that is based off this comic and this specific fight scene, and it's practically word for word adapted, which is really cool. So if you liked the fight scene in the TV show, definitely read this, and just read it in general, because while it's not my favourite, it's definitely like the basis for the TV show as well, which is epic. Question number 5 is Ghastly Bespoke, which is a well-written book. I'm going to say Slay for this one because I read it in a day, and it's contemporary, and I don't do contemporary, and I don't read books in a day unless they're really short. So that tells you something about this book. But this one also had so many important topics brought up in it, like you've got racism, anti-racism, you've also got reverse racism, which is not a thing, but it's discussed a lot in this book as well as to whether or not it is a thing, things like this. It covers so many important topics to do with racism and like things like this, and it was so well done. It really made me think, and I just genuinely really enjoyed it, and it made me reconsider my thing about not reading contemporaries, which is saying something because I don't read contemporaries, and this made me reconsider that. Question number 6 is Vorian. I'm just gonna say Scapegrace. Question number 6 is Scapegrace, which is a book that missed the mark. I'm gonna say The Midnight Library for this, because while the idea was brilliant, the ending just I completely and utterly disagreed with because of various reasons, but mainly because it sort of made it sound like, oh yeah, if you just change one thing, all of your depression will go away and like everything will be fine. And I totally get why that was done, but it completely missed the mark for me, and I'd been reasonably enjoying the book up until that point, and then the ending just annoyed me because I was like, that is not how things worked, because I have depression, I'm literally on antidepressants right now, and I have tried the things that were said at the end and they didn't work. My life didn't magically change. Quite frankly, the only thing that changed was the fact that I got on like medication that has actually helped. So apart from that, like the ending just didn't work for me. The message was great, but the ending missed the mark, personally for me. I know it works for a lot of people, but not for me. Question number 7 is Fletcher Wren, which is a book with a lot of settings. I'm going to say the Broken Earth trilogy, because I'm only currently halfway through Obelisk Gate right now. I'm literally on page 233, so I am literally midway through. But there has been a lot of settings so far. In like the first book, I would arguably say that the first book is a journey book, in the sense that you are going through like with the character going towards safety and travelling across the world, but you also get like other characters as well who go to different places. You've got places like the Fulcrum, you've got these different towns and like communities, and then you've got like little islands and sea towns and things like this. It's literally like you get so many different settings in it, and all of it is absolutely brilliant, and this one is no different. We have only gone to 2, maybe 3 settings in this one so far, but I love the world and I love all of the settings we go to, quite frankly, because it's just brilliant. Question number 8 is The Reflection, which is a book that is a poor imitation of the original Course of Miracles, which is a retelling of Les Mis. I have admittedly not read Les Mis because I don't have the time and it's massive and I don't do classics, but I have watched the musical which starred Carrie Hope Fletcher, Michael Ball, Alfie Boe and Matt Lucas, so I have seen a version of Les Mis, and that is my Les Mis. And because I'm a big fan of Carrie, I sort of feel like I know Les Mis quite well. I probably don't, but there you go. But either way, Court of Miracles was a very poor imitation of it, because this is supposed to be focusing on Eponine, but it kind of just completely missed the mark for me, quite frankly. It just didn't work on so many levels for me personally. Like, I got the references, things like this, but I've ranted about this book enough. You know I don't like it, but it is just a poor imitation of the original, unfortunately. It is pretty, though. That's why it's still on the shelves, because it's pretty, but it didn't work for me, unfortunately. It really didn't work for me, and it just doesn't live up to the versions I've seen. And the final question is question number 9, which is Davina Ma, a book with a controversial topic. And I'm going to say The Firekeepers Daughter, because that's got a hell of a lot of talk about drug use. It's also got native politics as well, and how the police and the authorities in general ignore murdered and missing Indigenous women and things like this. So there are a lot of controversial topics in it. But it is also a very important book, I think, and quite enjoyable, especially if you are into, like, mystery, thriller type crime novels. I'd definitely check it out, quite frankly. It wasn't for me personally, but I can definitely understand the hype around it. And that is the end of the Skulduggery Pleasant book tag. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give me a thumbs up. Comment down below, tell me some of your answers to this, or if you don't have that much time, leave me a skull emoji down below to let me know that you were here. I'll also leave a link down below to all of my social media if you want to check it out, including to the Comic Book Sanctum, which is my website dedicated to Marvel Comics, which has got a whole lot more information on Matt Fraction's Hawkeye if you are interested, as well as to the link to my Etsy and my Redbubble, which sells bookish goodies and bookish bullet journal stuff. And if you want to see any more of my videos, please click subscribe here, and over here with the link to my previous video. But until next time, everyone, bye!